to Axanar. I quote from Wikipedia. On December 29, 2015, Star Trek Axanar was hit by a lawsuit from CBS and Paramount Pictures filed in California federal court, stating that Axanar works infringed upon their intellectual property by making use of, in quotes, innumerable copyrighted elements of Star Trek, including its settings, characters, species, and themes. In June 2016, Paramount issued guidelines to assist fan-made productions from litigation. In summary, fan-made productions must be original stories and must be short, less than 30 minutes in total for a single storyline. Actors and other creative talent must be amateurs. They cannot be compensated for their work nor be previous employees of official Star Trek productions. The productions must be non-commercial. Crowdsourced fundraising is permitted up to $50,000, but distribution of fan-made works must be on a no-cost basis and must not generate revenue. Fan-made productions may not use bootleg props. On-screen props must be either fan-made or be official Star Trek merchandise. This is that crap ruling that CBS did that banned fan films, because bootleg props means if you do something that looks like the Enterprise, it's banned. And nor be previous employees of official Star Trek productions means no guest stars that have ever been on Star Trek. That effectively banned Star Trek alumni from appearing on fan productions like they did before on New Voyages and Phase 2 and Star Trek Continues, all that stuff. Effectively banned it. They banned fan productions. If I was in charge of CBS, and someone sane, like nobody in charge of CBS is sane. We know that. We know that from the history that everybody in CBS is insane. Like I first used Last FM in 2004, I think, and then CBS took it over and they tried to turn it into a streaming service and it was a complete failure, and now they try to turn their network into a streaming service, and again it's a total failure. They are idiots. CBS is a bunch of idiots that are running their company to the ground. But then again, so is their previous partner company Paramount that doing that Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and they're all just trying to run their companies into the ground. They're idiots. But if I was in charge and I had to decide over Star Trek fan films, I would make different rules. First of all, no limit on how long it is, no limit on which previous Star Trek actor appears on it, no limit on what Star Trek looking props are in it, but instead I would make a rule that people cannot release it by themselves. They can only submit it to CBS, and then CBS will release it on their YouTube, monetize it, and give a percentage to the people who made it, like 20%, and 80% goes to CBS for owning the copyright, or even 90% going to CBS for owning the copyright. They monetize it, get all the YouTube monetization, get it to the company, the monetization from the fan films, give 10% or 20% to the producers, put no limit on the previous GoFundMe or whatever, or Kickstarter, or getting the film started. They can do that themselves, the fans can pay that themselves, who cares? But it can only be released on the official CBS YouTube, and every Star Trek fan production that isn't released on the official CBS YouTube will be persecuted. That should be the rule, that if you make a Star Trek fan film, you can submit it to CBS, they will monetize it and give you a percentage of it. That way they make a lot of money, you get something in return for the work you produced and crowdfunded and everything. Everybody wins. That way everybody wins, instead of this stupid rule that is just to harass people and to tell fans they are shit. The rules they made, they are really just to insult fans, and that really reflects the attitude of CBS towards Star Trek fans in the last few years. Really since the end of Enterprise and the JJ verse and the STD verse, it really reflects the attitude towards the fans. So instead, they should just let fan productions be, but monetize it, get money from it, give a little money back for those who made it, who worked hard to make it, but make money from it. Everybody wins. That way, everybody wins, instead of making stupid rules where everybody loses. But, yeah. The story is like the premise of this video is to talk about Prelude to Axanar, and that caused this huge controversy by raising too much money and by making fans too interested in this fan production, that CBS was worried that nobody would be interested in their fan productions anymore, and they're really like, Star Trek Discovery, it's just a fan film, it's not canon, it's not anything, it's just doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek as a fan film, a fan series of people who aren't actually fans. It's like a like, I don't know, it's like when Nirvana got successful and there was a band named Bush, you probably know, that they were a really soft version of Nirvana, trying to cash off Nirvana by making a really soft version of it, or Blink-182 making a really soft version of Green Day, even though Green Day was already really soft, but Blink-182 made a soft version of Green Day. That is that kind of thing that Star Trek Discovery is doing, making a really diluted version of Star Trek to try to appeal to a wide audience, but not really being into Star Trek, just trying to appeal to the audience but a wider audience, by making it so diluted, so empty of any meaning, that they somehow may appeal to a wide audience. We know it doesn't work. It works just as well as their Last FM idea, but it's how it is. But yeah, they felt so threatened by Prelude to Axanar and the prospect of a film being made from it, that they had to make these completely stupid rules that everybody is losing from. Instead of making sane rules that CBS profits from fan films and fan film makers profit from fan films, they make really restrictive rules that fan films are banned, so that nobody makes money, so that their idea of Star Trek, their Blink-182 idea of Star Trek, may be protected somehow. And by now we know it didn't work. It's not a success, it's a complete failure. We know it didn't work. Typical CBS. As a long-time Last FM user, I could have told you that CBS just fails. But the thing is that Prelude to Axanar, it's praised so much among people who don't like the new direction of Star Trek. I don't think it's actually that good. I mean, it's not bad either. It's pretty decent, it's well produced, and it's pretty cool. But it's not like the second coming of Jesus or whatever. It's not like the best Star Trek ever, like some people make it out to be. It's not that. I don't mean that it isn't good. It's good, but it isn't like the best thing ever. It's good. It's good stuff, but it isn't totally amazing that I fall over backwards for how amazing it is. It's not that. It's just, it's good stuff. It's good fan film. It has good production values, good acting, and it's good stuff. And what I find funny, I like the idea of the style of documentary they did. I switched to DVD and streaming and that skull and crossbones type of thing pretty early. I stopped having a TV pretty early in my life, like in the turn of the century. I'm just not a TV fan with all the commercials and all that crap, all the reality shows and all that. I stopped having a TV pretty early. So that type of documentaries that Prelude to Axanar is doing, that was just becoming popular as I was stopping to watch TV. And I only remember one real life documentary being like that, and it was in the aftermath of 9/11 and before the Iraq War and before the 9/11 Commission. And it had like Condoleezza Rice and Tony Blair and Donald Rumsfeld and Pervez Musharraf, the president of Pakistan and all. It was funny because it had stuff like oh yeah, we totally didn't know it was coming, and it was all Saddam Hussein with his weapons of mass destruction. And it's really funny looking back at it, thinking about that documentary that I once watched that was so completely full of crap in hindsight. But just goes to show how easy it is to manipulate. And actually, there's a Babylon 5 episode like that in season 4, The Illusion of Truth, where they show how interviews with important people can be twisted and quotes taken out of context and misinformation and everything and fake experts and everything. So that's kind of the image that I have of those kinds of documentaries. So Prelude to Axanar is exactly that kind of documentary where they interview important figures, and I have that image of that kind of documentary, how I see it in the back of my mind, even though they try a lot to show all sides. I mean, they have Garth of Isa in it, who is in the TOS episode, Whom Gods Destroy. We all know he was completely batshit crazy. So it's funny if you watch the documentary and consider there might be some spin in it and some misinformation, and that makes it really interesting. And that kind of plays into the appeal of Star Trek, that you can think about it and talk about it to your friends and saying, like, this is a documentary about the Star Trek universe. Do you think it's real? Do you think they're lying? Do you think that it's saying the truth? And that it provides points for debate among Star Trek fans. That's a really interesting approach to a Star Trek documentary, so to speak, that they provide you with content in a style of documentary that has been shown to easily be faked and being misinformation and being nonsense and propaganda and all that. That they present it to you in that style, that they provide you with a point of debate among Star Trek fans, that you can talk about it. And that's real Star Trek, that it provides something that you can talk about among fellow Star Trek fans, that you can talk about, do you think he's lying? Do you think it really happened the way he said? Or do you think that woman is lying? Do you think it really happened the way she said? That it provides a point of debate, and that's really awesome. And that's really Star Trek, classic Star Trek, that it's a story that you can debate, you can talk about, that it's not trying to tell you what to think, but that it provides you with an information that you can debate among fellow Star Trek fans. And I think that's a really cool idea. That's something that CBS in the current version of Star Trek would never think about, never even consider, to give you something you could debate, something that you could disagree on and examine from various angles. The newest version of Star Trek, they just tell you what to think and how to feel about something. They provide you everything you should feel about their stories. They don't give you any point for debate among fellow Star Trek fans. It's not something you can talk about among friends who also love Star Trek. And Prelude to Axanar does exactly that. It provides you points to debate among fellow Star Trek fans. And that's what makes it really cool. That's what makes it really cool. And again, I'm not saying it's the second coming. It's not the best Star Trek ever. It's a fan production, it has its flaws, but it's classic Star Trek. It follows the spirit of Star Trek, of raising ideas that you can debate among friends, and in that way it's really cool. It's not the second coming, but it's really cool stuff. And the idea of banning fan films based on that, or based on the impending Axanar movie, it's just CBS shooting themselves in the foot, because they could have profited so much from this. They could have benefited so much from this. Instead of benefiting from it, they needed to ban it, to push their weird new idea of Star Trek that we now know is completely failing, just like their Last FM music streaming service was failing because it totally missed the point of Last FM. CBS is just failing at doing business with a pre-existing franchise that they don't understand. They just fail at that. They will always fail at that. And CBS All Access will fail just like their redesigned Last FM failed. And it's just how it is. They could have benefited so much from fan input, but they just completely messed it up. And instead, we can just look back, watch Prelude to Axanar. It's really good. It's not the second coming, but it's really good. I urge you to watch it and support the Axanar YouTube channel and the people behind Axanar to make the full version of it. Support them 100%. Always support them. Support them the best you can, because they have a good idea, and hopefully, eventually, the owners of the Star Trek franchise will come around and see what's good for them. That their bad robot secret hideout idea of Star Trek isn't working out. We all know that by now. And if they work together with real Star Trek fans, it will work out for them. They will make lots of money if they work with real Star Trek fans. And Star Trek fans should always be supported, because Star Trek fans know what's best for Star Trek.